day I had to meet Carvalho and talk to him. My field had been attacked by a type of worm. Since it was a cleared field, the losses and troubles I suffered from it were endless. The rice I planted the first year had grown into huge clumps and had many rotten grains. When I planted the rice that I planted was blown away by the wind and I did not even get the money to make the harvest. This year, the trouble began with planting. The seedlings were not good enough to plant properly. In addition, some 2 mischievous oxen had been given to me. As soon as I put the yoke on them to plant the field, they lay down like dead men in the field. They did not hit me, they did not knock me. I had enough of them by grabbing their tails and twisting them. With this, they began to act as if they were in a state of death, with their bellies bulging and their eyes swollen. Having somehow managed to overcome all these dangers and finish the planting, I was now plagued by some invisible worms. There was no trace of the worms, but only the leaves had been eaten. No matter what medicine I applied, there was no change in the situation. Everyone had come to the unmistakable conclusion that this was a terrible plague. Before I surrendered to this madness, I decided to see Carvalho once. I went to his research station once. Inside, among some 108 instruments, test tubes, flasks, etc., an owl with thick glasses was working, smoking a cigarette. "Is Carvalho here?" I asked. He opened a door without speaking and looked at me in surprise. I went to the door he pointed to and knocked. There was a board next to it that said, "Professor Carvalho." A small voice said, "Come in." I pushed the door open and went in. Professor Carvalho was putting away files and making notes. In front of him was a microscope with 2 eyepieces. He looked at me and said, "SS." Knowing that I could start talking, I explained all the problems that had befallen my field. He listened to everything very calmly and said, "I will see and then decide. When you come back, bring a couple of worms. For now, do this and drain the field completely. Those worms are submerged in the water in the plant's pods. That's why your medicine never reached them. If you look at your description, they must be sole worms," he said. With his half-white beard and mustache, his eagle-like beak, and his very serious eyes, Carvalho looked very serious. He must have been about 50 years old. He looked like a Christian from Mangalore. He also spoke Kannada very textually like him. I did not see any possibility of becoming Mandana's disciple. I thought he had hit a snitch. After finishing the conversation, I did not feel like sitting around chatting like a Lokaparama. "So, Barini sir, did I bother you?" I got up. "Mister," he stopped me and said "My dear young man, you must have said this seriously. My job here is to take care of the problems of people like you, to help you as much as you can. Therefore, it is your right to bother me." These words, which in anyone else might have sounded like bureaucratic gibberish, came naturally in Carvalho's honest voice. I pushed the door open and stepped out. The worms behaved just as Carvalho had predicted. They were submerged in water in the rice paddies, sitting in dozens inside each plant. As the water drained, they began to crawl across the field, where birds, frogs, and ants began to feast on them. We then sprayed them with insecticide and killed them. But they had already eaten half of my field. When I took the worms to Carvalho, I was very happy to see that his prediction was correct. When I explained all the steps I had taken and returned, he told me that I was the only farmer who had come to his research center so far, even though I had been coming back time and time again. I was amazed, because I suspected that this was the man named Carvalho, whom many people had been mentioning in their conversations. "Why are Sir Lakshmana Gowda, Karagowda, Chandragowda, Silva, Budin Saheb all talking about you so much?" I asked. I was a little taken aback by Carvalho's friendliness. Carvalho said, "Oh, yes, but I don't know any of them. They must have met at some function. I forgot that there is no common ground between them and me. Not at all. I am the only gazetted officer in this town. So, they put me in charge of presiding over all the functions. Yesterday, on the 15th of August, there was a speech by ministers. They called me to preside. Why would a scientist like me give a speech? He said. I was surprised and said, yes, sir, SS. But I had to go to Bombay because my son-in-law sent a telegram to my daughter to take care of her, he said. It was good that you went to Bombay, sir, said the bees without any provocation, and stung her, and also said that the function was cancelled. The Pudaris laughed heartily when they heard that all the rascals had run away with the scythe. They also told me that Mandana had fallen down after knocking over the band. He said, is that the one who does that job? I asked, do you know Mandana, sir? Oh, I know him well. He is a wonderful fellow. In a way, he is my disciple. What a loudmouth. Why is he doing an apprenticeship with this scientist professor? If he looks at me, does he not know any big man in this town? I thought to myself. Carvalho said, the bees must have been angry at the sound of Mandana's drum. There are no bees in India that fly on humans without being provoked by themselves. Only in South Africa does a species of bee behave like this. Its name is Mumubi. He reassured me that this disaster would not happen under my presidency. I said, goodbye, sir, and left. In my mind, I thought that if Mandana Carvalho had presided over something, it would have been fortunate for the gurus who had cast the correct Tirumantra mantra that he had escaped.